But obviously, none of anything I've mentioned so far ever bothered Republican leadership. Because of course it didn't. Why would it? But eventually, the GOP did turn on this tree-punching Hitler hobbyist. Any guesses on what actually did it?
Then all of a sudden you get invited to, like, well, hey, we're going to have kind of a sexual get-together at one of our homes. You should come. And I'm like, what did you just ask me to come to? Yeah. And then you realize they're asking you to come to an orgy. Yeah. Or the fact that, there's some of the people that are leading on the movement to try and remove, addiction in our country. And then you watch them do, a key bump of cocaine right in front of you.
Of course! You can do all the racism and sexism and Hitler vacations you want. Just don't imply that Republicans would dare enjoy sex or drugs. Of course, this is just his word against theirs. Cawthorn is a liar, as we've established. But I could also totally imagine there being drug-fueled Republican orgies. And I hate that I can. It's filthy and wet, but also dry at the same time, like river stones eroding over the great chasm of time. But no matter the truth here, this interview was a step too far, but not the Hitler stuff, and pissed off his fellow Republicans enough to challenge him in the primary, not to mention a very stern talking to from Kevin McCarthy, a talking to that this reporter is going to claim made Madison cry. Dad said he was disappointed in Madison, and Madison admitted to Dad that he may have exaggerated those orgy claims. Also, Dad is what McCarthy likes being called at the orgies. But even after this stiff verbal spanking, the definitely not having secret orgies, even though we're really defensive about secret orgies, Republicans weren't done with Cawthorn. Suddenly, mysterious sources close to Cawthorn started to offer up some dirt on him, which it seems like would be really easy given all of the lying, possible harassment, and horrible things he's just said out loud on purpose. But those weren't the things that were dug up. Instead, it was Cawthorn wearing earrings and lingerie on a cruise, which, okay? That's maybe the only halfway cool thing he's done in his life, and it was for some contest? And yet, Occupy Democrats, a totally progressive and LGBTQ-friendly organization, tweeted, "Breaking! Photos leak exposing MAGA rep Madison Cawthorn partying while dressed in skimpy lingerie and hoop earrings while drinking with women. Cawthorn previously claimed that he refused to attend Republican cocaine orgies. Retweet if you think that he must resign!" And wait, what? Why is wearing hoop earrings and lingerie bad, or something he should resign over? Maybe he should resign over the lying, the coup attempt, or the very probably Nazi memorabilia that, while I have no evidence of it, he definitely probably has and cuddles. This, of course, wasn't the end of the attacks against this fashy ent bully. A political action committee founded by two North Carolina Democrats called American Muckrakers continued to dig up and push out other evidence against Cawthorn. And by evidence, I mainly mean a bunch of ew, gay attacks for some mind-blowing reason. There are a bunch of videos that Cawthorn attempted to explain away, and you can look them up to jerk off to or whatever, but we don't have to show them here. And sure, there's something to be said about the hypocrisy whenever stuff like this comes up with anti-gay politicians, but it's still pretty disappointing. Not surprising, but disappointing. That thinly veiled homophobia is what tanked his election, as opposed to all of that fascism stuff, or even that crypto insider trading thing. Or, how 150 students at his ex-college signed a letter accusing him of sexual predation, which seems more damning than him being secretly gay or whatever. Or I don't know, how about him openly calling for people to threaten election officials?
So everybody, I'm telling you, I'm encouraging you. Please get on the phone, call your congressman, and feel free, you can lightly threaten them. And say, you know what, if you don't start supporting election integrity, I'm coming after you, Madison Cawthorn's coming after you, everybody's coming after you.
Nope, it wasn't that either. It was just, what if he's gay stuff. It just doesn't seem as relevant, again, beyond the hypocrisy, compared to the other stuff I've mentioned. But at least they're actually investigating him for that crypto scam now, even if that's probably not what cost him this election. And heck, it sure would have been neat for Cawthorn to realize that what he experienced is only a fraction of the hate LGBTQ people have to deal with on a regular basis, which is a thing he did not realize. No, instead of doing any self-reflection or really making any change, after losing the election, Madison Cawthorn took to Instagram, posting a list of people he considered America First patriots, next to a rant calling for, and this is a direct quote, "the rise of the new right. It's time for Dark MAGA to truly take command." Like quite literally a Star Wars villain. Some masked dipshit named Jep Mooneater or whatever. Shit is like a literal extremist manifesto, stating that they have to defeat the cowardly and weak members of our own party, as in the establishment Republicans, you know, the people of Sarah Palin's era that have now been deemed not right-wing enough by the party that's totally not moving more right because it's the left, you see. I don't know. Maybe this is the last we'll see of this massive wad. I sure hope so, but that post seems very telling that we're going to start seeing a growing and worrying trend of the GOP, let's call them leaders, who will boost off of Trump's election fraud claims to completely disregard any election results they do not like, even the ones where they clearly lost, like losers, perhaps going to the point that they won't even try to pretend it's about fraud, but simply demanding that their ideology be in power despite it not having the majority support. In Arizona, a swing state, there was a now stalled bill introduced that would allow the legislature there to ultimately accept or reject election results based on whether they thought those results were fraudulent, which is a long way to say that they are trying to find excuses to overturn election results they don't like, grabbing the community ball and saying, "It's my ball and I'm going home." So even though it has been proven so much that the last presidential election was indeed a fair one, or at least as fair as all the other elections, some GOP candidates are now running on a platform of conspiracy theories claiming that it was fraudulent. It's basically the new Q. Remember Q? Remember how that didn't, go anywhere save for an attempted coup attempt, and yet barely anyone on the right was willing to admit that it was bad and wrong? Anywho, by pretending like the Democrats rigged the last big election, which they did not, the GOP is able to project their own desire to actually mess with elections under the idea that they did it first, while also appealing to that Trump base. Because thanks to our loser crime president, polling has shown that most Republicans have lost confidence in our election integrity. But an interesting detail is that the majority polled also think that the elections in their local area were run just fine. And the problem is other areas, meaning that it's a gaggle of conservatives who all think everyone else's state is the bad guy, but not their state, probably because they've seen no actual evidence, but keep being told there's a problem, because it isn't actually a problem. But again, despite these facts, we can expect both the primaries and midterms to be jam-packed with a country kitchen buffet's worth of legal meddling and tampering that will be bound to zero integrity or specific morality beyond the GOP candidates simply wanting to win. For example, you probably recall all of the many ads with Republicans denouncing and making laws against mail-in voting. Except, sure enough, we're now seeing some GOP candidates suddenly embrace mail-in votes that might benefit them after all. How strange! It's like they don't believe in anything, so they can say they believe in anything. So yeah, fun preview for the midterm elections, not to mention that as of the day we shot this episode, a report came out detailing how Republicans are currently implementing a massive recruitment campaign specifically looking for right-leaning poll workers to connect with a web of local lawyers and district attorneys. While the claim is to have conservatives more represented in election certification, according to one election watchdog group, this level of coordination has never been done by a political party before, is focused primarily on swing states, and seems designed to, quote, create massive failure of certification in areas that tilt toward Democrats. Literally, what they accuse the Dems of doing. Literally, attempting to steal elections at a local level by placing operatives into the area. Extremely f***ed up. And even if that doesn't work, I'm still willing to bet that if any of the ultra-dark Omega MAGA folks lose those midterms, it won't be the last we see of them. Just like how I'm sure we won't see the last of that loser Cawthorn, much like we didn't see the last of that loser Sarah Palin, who I hope stays a loser and goes away for Christmas's sake. Hey, thanks for watching that clip. Here's the evergreen end plate to ask you to like and subscribe. It's any day of the year where you are.